Right, mate. Got there in the end.
We did. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. It's about time we got this done, isn't it?
I know. Do you know what? I know you had to reschedule because you weren't too well. I weren't feeling
Yeah.
too great today. You know, and you think, oh, I've rescheduled once. I don't want to reschedule again because you know what it's like. Life
Yeah,
gets
that's
in the
it, yeah.
way, and then before you know it, time's got away with you. So,
Mate, I was
but
ready. 5 to 7, I was ready. I'm absolutely crap with technology. And then you said 7:30. And I thought, I'm 10 minutes chill out. And then everything went to shit, mate, about
yeah,
25 past
yeah.
7.
Oh, yeah. No matter how many times you do it, you always got to just give yourself 10, 15 minutes beforehand, haven't you? I find.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
It's good, though, mate. I'm not the best when it comes to technology, mate, but I like speaking to people. So,
nah,
I've
well, that's
got to
good
figure it
enough.
out. So, yeah, but initially, mate, we'll go through the run and, where you're from, what you're about, what your hobbies were, where you grew up. Obviously, you're down south.
I am. Yeah, yeah.
And we'll go from there, mate.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so obviously I'm Gavin. I'm 33 years of age. Obviously, as you said, I'm down south. I'm in Essex. I was a London boy growing up, East End. Grew up in Stratford. Over the years, branched out. I've lived in over 20 different places, or 22 different houses over 33
Oh,
years. So
wow.
I mean, nowhere's home for me as such.
Yeah.
It's just through really. You know, my mum. I think when I was born, my mum was still at her dad's in Stratford, and then we moved out to like Chadwell, and then my dad left me when I was 2. So then obviously like the flat that they had together, they split then, and then my mum met someone else, and then we moved in with them, and then they moved house together, and then eventually, just over all that time, I've just eventually moved out from East London into Essex, and although I'm doing this podcast with you at my mum's at the minute, I do actually live in Brentwood, so I've come back here to do this, and then I'll be going back home after. So that's where I'm recited at the minute. So, but yeah, what I'm about. So yeah, obviously, as you know from talking, but I'm an addict myself in recovery. 4.5 months clean today. Actually, it's a Tuesday, isn't it? Yep. 4.5 months clean today from this stuff. I've had an 8-year battle with it. I feel like for all the addictions and battles I've had in my life definitely over the past like 12 years, 13 years or so, the biggest battle I've probably had is changing your mindset. It's the only thing in this world that we can change, yeah, that's been my biggest battle, is changing this mindset. So for me, it got to a point where in life where I'd fucked up enough times. I'm a sparky by trade. I've done been for 10 years. Drugs and alcohol are rife in my game as they are in every other industries
Everywhere,
as well.
mate. Everywhere.
Yeah. So I think after I felt like I hit rock bottom 4.5 months ago, my partner kicked me out. I had to go back to my mum's to kind of collect my thoughts, gather my thoughts, shut myself away from the world for a bit. I think I took about 2 months off of work just because I just needed time. Just needed time, where I had to cut my friends out. I thought to myself, I need to give myself a complete overhaul of my life. I've fucked up job after. I'm self-employed anyway, so I can jump from one job to the other. But I don't. As I've got older, for someone that's moved house so many times, I realise I don't like change.
Well, a sense of security as well helps. When we're trying to resolve all these addictions and mental issues and everything like that, you need stability, don't you? So
We do.
staying in one place that's going to be your base, isn't it? Really,
You need it. You need it. You need your house to be a home.
Yeah, definitely.
You need to have that feel. So still kind of feel like I'm finding my way from that perspective. But my partner and I go away in a couple of weeks, and when we come back, her flat's going on the
Where you
market.
going?
Bali.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It will be
Nice.
the holiday of a lifetime, actually. Bali for 2 weeks, and then Singapore to finish off for 3 nights, and then
Oh.
flight back home. Yeah, so we're doing like Gili Tea, Seminyak, Uluwatu, Ubud, etc. So I think we're staying in 5 different places over 2.5 weeks. So
Nice.
but I've just had to top my jabs up. The typhoid jab.
Yeah.
I think I needed. I've had to get that done, and yeah. So I've just got to get money together tomorrow. I've just got all my summer bits out the loft. So so looking forward to that. But when I come back, that's it. Head down, arse up. I've got the marathon I'm running in April, like London Marathon. So obviously I'm training for that at the minute. So as much as I've got a fantastic holiday coming up, it's come at the worst possible time. So but yeah.
A holiday to Bali can never come at a worse bad time. Mate.
I just know for me it's going to be a lot of beach runs, a lot of running on the
Oh,
beach.
what a shame. What a fucking shame, mate.
Tough life, eh?
Yeah,
No, do you know what? You know, like when you book a holiday, like for me, I booked a holiday with, when I went away with my partner, so I've been with my partner just over 2 years. And our first holiday together was Egypt, and we've been together like 3 or 4 months. And that was actually my first time I went abroad in like 4 years. I know what with COVID and whatnot, but like I wasn't actually that bothered for holidays. I was just happy just grinding grinding in the UK. But now I've had one holiday. It was like actually, I think on average we've been on holiday every 5 months, which ain't too bad. I could do without it. It's her, but yeah. So. But yes, so obviously, yes. When I come back from then, I'm going to finish marathon training, do my marathon. She's putting her flat on the market. My parents bought a place not too far from where I live now, or even where I am now, and that was bought when I was 20. So I lived on. My mum moved up north to Lincolnshire for a couple of years with my stepdad with work, and so I moved out from my mum when I was 20, and for me that was probably like really like I weren't ready as much as I thought I was, because it's took me until now to realise I need to be comfortable in my own head, and I realised at 20 when I moved out, and this was off the back of my mum lost her dad. My mum was in a very abusive relationship for 5 years, so from the ages of 5 to 10, we'll get onto that actually, but we'll get onto this bit after.
I wanted to sort of start. Basically, mate, what I try and do is I try and put some relevance as to my life and my addictions. I was in addiction for the best part of 20 years.
Okay. And yours was this an alcohol, or just this, or just alcohol, or
the white stuff and alcohol.
Yeah. Okay.
So what I try and do is I try and bring relevance to other people's story. I'll try and compare similarities, not differences, similarities. So like you said there, that you said that your dad left when you were 2.
Yes. Okay. So we're going from that perspective. Okay.
Yeah. So my dad left. I think I was probably just born. I think I'd never lived with my dad, and I was very similar. I was raised. My grandparents had a lot to do with my childhood, things like that. I had quite a lot of trauma. I had quite a lot of trauma in my early childhood, which again I've delved into hundreds of times on here, so I won't bore you with the details. But
no, of course, it's all relevant though, isn't it, to what shaped you to be the man you are today, and prior to your battle with drugs and alcohol.
And that's it, mate. And that's sort of where I think if we could sort of jump into the water from that perspective and that direction, and then sort of, like you said, you were at 20 years old, you weren't ready and things like that. But hindsight's a brilliant thing, isn't it? If we were
absolutely,
if we lived in the view of hindsight, mate, we'd all be clean, sober, multi-millionaires.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, my granddad used to always say, "You can't put an old head on young shoulders."
Exactly, mate. Exactly.
And it does. So okay, so from that perspective, yes, I think I've said to you before. I've definitely said in my videos on TikTok. When I went to rehab, I spent my 31st birthday in rehab 2.5 years ago. Okay. It's a bit of a surreal thing. I never wanted it enough. I didn't feel like I was willing, or I'd hit a rock bottom enough to want it. So it was not a waste of time for me. It was an experience, definitely. But what that did teach me was that I met a lot of people that are obviously addicts, such as myself, and alcoholics, people that have suffered with addiction, and almost every single person there, and there was just over 30 people in there when I was there, everyone had a past. Everyone had something that had happened in their younger years, in their childhood. Like there was something that traumatised them in childhood, which they carried over into their older years. They then maybe went off the rails and turned to crime, or and then in turn turned to drugs and alcohol. And ultimately, I've found that, from my perspective, I would use this stuff. Alcohol was never really my thing, to be honest. But this stuff always helped me suppress dealing with life on life's terms. So my using kind of started at really from 22, 23, going back through the rave days. Don't get me wrong, I had a great time in some of the rave days. I went to Ibiza, I've done Germany, Amsterdam. I've done some places around Europe, just going to these international parties, and I had a great time. Some of them, made some memories, but like anything, when the fun stops, stop. Easier said than done. However, I went through. I've got a 7-year-old from a past relationship, and I went. You know, we were together 3 years. Had a child. We split up 4 years. Sorry, we had a child after 3 years. 9 months after my child was born, realised that we weren't. Our parenting styles were different. We didn't get on that well, and I ended up going to court afterwards. Amicable split up, mind you, but I went to court for 2 years. Stood before a judge 7 times. Didn't get the outcome I wanted. I spent 20 grand in the process, and I had 3 drugs tests actually via hair strands. Now, if you know much about hair strand tests,
yeah.
Look, fucking accurate, mate. Fucking accurate. I found
anything up to 6 months, isn't it, or something like that, or a couple of years, or something.
Years.
Is it?
Yeah, which is ironic because at the time when I went through court, my hair was actually like down to here. I had long hair, so I had years in my hair. You know, I had a good 3 years or so there. They say your hair grows at 1 centimetre a month, so when I needed 3 months sample, it was 3 centimetres cut out the top of my head, and I failed my first drugs test. You know, she tried getting it. I didn't do an alcohol one. I'd done that via a liver function test from the doctor, but I had to do like this stuff, the horse tranquilizer, like ecstasy, etc. And where I failed on this stuff, like the solicitor really kind of pulled me over the coals with it. I had a further 2 tests. I passed them. I won my case 18 months in, and then it got overturned, and then I spent another 6 months fighting for something where I was like, I haven't got the money or the time or the strength anymore. It's emotional going through court. Probably after my last test, which was probably about 18 months in, after that, I started using, and I was with my previous partner was also a user of cannabis. So, you know, she was okay with me using because she was using. She weren't at a point where she understood she was an addict, or she never thought she was. But the problem is because she enabled it, you know, I'd done it, then it got to a point where we moved out together, and you know what, she walked with me through my court case, and fair play to her for doing so. But this was where my addiction started to take off, you know. So we'd moved out, we were living together, and you know, I'm earning 3 times the amount she is. Yet at the end of the month, I started coming to her saying, "You got 100 quid? I need to put some fuel in the car for work," stuff like that. And it's like 3 months, 4 months down the line from when we've moved out, she's like, "How have I always got money in at the end of the month and you haven't?" And then it was like, okay, well, this is where it's coming out on top now. And so when she found out, she took 2 days to process it. And I remember her saying to me, "You ever touch that shit again, that's it, you're out." And, you know, I promised her I wouldn't. 6 weeks later, I did, went back to it. And I had some really dark times there. Really, you know, it was a Victorian kind of style 2 up, 2 down kind of house. So like, you know, it was the original flooring was like oak flooring, like solid oak flooring, like dark. It was just dark. The whole place was dark. The windows were small. The floors were dark, and it's a very dark house. And it always reminds me of like I had some of my darkest times there. It was where my using really took off. You know, I was very conflicted between what my mum wanted me to do, because my mum walked my court case with me as well. So I've got my mum saying this is what I should do. I've got my ex, this is what you should do, and it's like I was never decisive on what I wanted out of it. And I think while I listen to everyone else, you know, the fact of the matter is to bring this point back is, had I have not used in the first place, I would have maybe got the outcome I wanted. Luckily for me, 4 years I missed her out of her life following. I've actually been seeing her since August now, and it's only because it's only by chance that I'm seeing her. So my mum and I would move mountains in the interim to ensure that when because my mum would still look after my daughter from time to time. So obviously, as time has gone on, as she's got older, she'd always ask, you know, "Where's Daddy? He's at work. He's busy. He's this, that, the other." And it was like, you can't keep lying to a little person, because you know they then start to feel like they're not loved, they're not good enough, and then that'll affect them growing up. And for me, when I bowed out of court, it was very much, I've run out of money here. My solicitors rang me out of hours and said everything can and will be appealed, you know, because they have to cross all the T's and dot the I's. So it's really a case of now, Gavin, how much money have you got to throw at this? And for me, it was like, I would rather my child grew up with a happy family. Because my daughter's mum, she moved on, she married and had a child with that person. They're still together now, which is great. But for me, it was like, I'd rather my daughter grew up with a happy, loving family than two individual parents at war with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was only by the off chance that my mum didn't answer the phone one day when I was dropping some stuff off to her that I passed her in her road, in her road, and my daughter was in the car. So then obviously got out, said hello, we spent the day together, and that was probably about April, May last year. So from then to September, we'd done a mediation, and then, you know, a couple of conversations, the child maintenance payment started up again, and then before you know it, I now have her every other weekend. I've had her stay over on my own a few times. Like, yeah, and you know, you just think, it's like, what did I go through all that for? This is ultimately what I wanted. I'll be taking her away in October to Lanzarote for a week with my partner. Like, what did I go through all that for? So that was where my using took off, was because I couldn't deal with going through court. Really, lockdown happened. I was picking up the 3 for 100 with my partner. We was going out for 10k walks every day. She'd smoking it. She was smoking. She's doing an ounce a month of cannabis. I'm doing for, you know, got to the point where the person I was using, you know, because it was locked down and the police were strict, the person who was the runner would get caught by the police. Then another runner would get caught. Then the person who runs the line would end up coming to me, but it was costing me more and more money to get him to come to me, because I was in the sticks at the time. I was in a place called Latchington near Colchester. And that was really kind of where my using kind of really started to escalate. And when we moved out, that was where I'd experienced my first kind of thing of paranoia, and not paranoia, like psychosis. Sorry.
Yeah.
So paranoia is a given when you use and abuse the using. But psychosis crept in for me for the first time, and it was the seeing shadows on the wall, having to take a knife to bed with me because I thought someone's coming up the stairs. I can hear the back door going. I was in an old Victorian house, and the floorboards are creaking when they're walking up the stairs, and that was repeating in my mind. I remember having to ring my mum and being like, "Mum, you need to come over." And my mum's an addict herself, alcoholic, 10 years clean herself.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
So, you know, very close with my mum, like you know, like you from respect. I grew up in a split family. So my mum knew everything. So I had to ring her to come over, because it was like really, really, like, it was really bad. I didn't think I was ever going to exit that kind of mental state of mind. And I feared for my life. It kept me off it for a few weeks, but I always went back to it. But definitely what I said there, like the childhood plays a part. And this is, again, so I bring this back to if I take you back to my earlier years, and this is relevant. As I said, my mum's been married 3 times. My dad walked out when I was 2. Nice man, just weren't ready to be a dad. You know, I've got 2 half brothers, and one of them, you know, I'm the youngest of the 3, but one of them kind of like gets that he was always a letdown, and it didn't affect him too much. But the oldest, the firstborn, it still hurts him now that dad fucked off and isn't bothered. And it's like, I knew that from the get-go that he was a letdown, so I don't really have any emotional attachment. However, so my mum, as I said, 10 years clean now from alcohol, but she started drinking because her second marriage, he was an abuser. So when I was younger growing up, like, you know, I'd hear my mum get raped. You know, she was beaten within an inch of her life on a few occasions. And at 7, 8 years of age, I couldn't do anything, you know, and that's the hardest thing, is that when you're, one incident that always crosses my mind is, one day my mum's ex-husband would have her up the wall, and I'm standing in the lounge, she's in the hallways. And
can I just, sorry to interrupt there without sounding like an arsehole. It's just, I don't know what words you can use. You probably know better than me, because we're streaming to other things. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know. I'm just saying about the words. That's all, just in case.
I'll change it around slightly. Okay. So
sorry to interrupt.
No, you're right. You're right. No, you're all good. So, okay. Yeah. So he was a very, very horrible man. Okay. Very horrible. And there was one incident where he'd have her up the wall, like by the neck, and, you know, when you're 8 years of age and you've got one parent saying call the police and the other one saying don't call the police, you know, you freeze, you don't know what to do. And I grew up you know, my mum always taught me, any trouble, walk away, Gav, you know, so I'm not a violent person. However, I feel like if I ever hit someone now, I'd have 25 years of strength behind me and pain and trauma behind that punch. I'd kill someone in a punch because I never punched anyone. I dealt with the anger and the sadness internally. So growing up for me off the back of this particular incident, you know, I grew up with anger and hatred. My mum, on the aftermath of that, we were kicked out, left homeless for a short while my mum got back on her feet, but she started drinking to numb the fact that she was, you know, abused. And the thing is like her drinking went from, so she was a school teacher, and she would drink, you know, socially after school with the other teachers. Then it started getting every night when she got in from work, isolating in the bedroom, saying she's got school homework to mark and stuff like that. And the amount of times I used to walk into the bedroom, you know, because at 13, 14 years of age, you know, I weren't really fully ready to cook and iron and stuff like that. I had to pick it up out of the fact that my mum just wasn't able to at that time because she was having to deal with her own stuff. You know, so I can't shoot her for it. However, 10 years on from being clean, she forever feels like she owes me, and it's a shame because now I had to witness 10 years. I had to witness 8 years of her drinking. She's had to now witness 8 years of me in the madness myself, you know. So
if it's difficult, isn't it? Because similar to yourself, mate, I held, I'm not going to say hold anymore, but I held a lot of resentment towards both of my parents.
Okay.
My father for not being around when I was a young lad, because my father, he reminded me of Rocky Balboa in the first film. They had like long curly hair. He was a boxer. He was a bit of a rum dude.
Yeah,
and everybody used to say, "Oh, your dad's a handy guy, and he's a decent guy." And I'm thinking, I don't even know this person. You know, these people are telling me these things, and I know him to spend 3 hours with him on a Saturday afternoon, but I don't know him. Do you know what I mean?
Don't know him, no. Yeah.
The resentment towards my mother was because I was the eldest. She almost took her grief of not, her and my dad splitting up. She took it out on me.
Yeah.
So growing up, and I just want to dig into something that you said there about.
Go for it.
You said that you'd hit somebody and you wouldn't stop hitting them for 25 years. You'd get 25 years. Does that mean that obviously you're still holding all that in there? You're still holding all that trauma, all that anger in?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I've decompartmentalised it and dealt with it. I've had various forms of therapy over the years to deal with my childhood trauma. I was bullied at school for a rumour that lived mentally imprisoned in my mind for 15 years. That affected me massively. My own friends turned on me and made fun of me for a lie. And that really hurt me and stuff like that. So I mean, I have dealt with that stuff now, but I just felt, no, the point I was trying to say was like, I felt like if I ever got to a point where I did hit someone, it would be a real fucking strong punch because I'd have all that behind me. But like I said, I've never hit anyone. I'm not a violent person. But yeah, I've dealt with it now. I mean, obviously talking about it naturally is always gonna bring up, open up old wounds, of course, naturally, because it's again, it's your inner child stuff. It's your stuff that
It's crazy, man. I got abused when I was a kid. At 12 years old.
Okay.
And I've always held this. A lot of my addiction stems from self-hatred towards myself when I was a child. The fact that I was different, I wasn't raised like a lot of my friends. I've got a lot of friends who grew up with single parents, and a lot of them ended up addicts like me. But I was always envious of the sort of. I come from a lower class council estate, mate. But I was always envious of this. I'm going to call it perfect life. And I always had this self-hatred towards me and a hatred towards my parents, and I grew up with that ingrained in my psyche, mate, in my prefrontal cortex or whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
And it was only until last year that I did some work on my childhood self and things like this, and some meditation and mindfulness. And
how'd you find it?
unbelievable, mate. So again, I've said this story on one of the other podcasts, but I went to this place in Wigan and done this mindfulness work and meditation, and I ended up having a face-to-face with me 11-year-old self, and I'm not even, and I hugged him, wrapped him in a coat of armour, told him everything's okay, and told him I'm going to look after him. And since then, that pain and anger is slowly disappearing.
Fantastic, yeah.
And it's crazy because I'd never in a million years thought I'd carry that resentment and sort of anger and pain for the rest of my life. And I don't think I will now. I think, I'm 38 now. By the time I hit 40, I think I'll be in, a far better mental state again when it comes to, not holding any resentment on my shoulders, not holding any weight. And you know what, mate? And you'll probably think the same way. I was never ever good at giving myself gratitude or giving myself a pat on the back. Whenever somebody said anything positive about things that I've been doing, I couldn't accept rewards or recognition. Very difficult.
Yeah.
But it's only lately, mate, where I'm giving myself those positive affirmations and saying, well done. Keep this going. You're powerful, man. Powerful stuff.
It's funny because I know when if you go, I know we'll probably cover the recovery side of things a little bit further on, but part of the 12-step programs, there's elements in it where you do gratitude lists and you do your daily affirmations. You see, not people that aren't addicts and alcoholics doing these now.
Yeah,
because it's important. Mindfulness and that is and doing gratitude stuff is important now, and I think it's become more widespread, and that's fantastic. Obviously, when it comes to recovery, it is what works best for you. But there are people out there that are doing that now, because sometimes you do need to pinch yourself and remind yourself, you are worth it, and you are a good person, and what you're doing. I've got my wallet here actually, and funny enough, when I was having a bad day last year, and this is when I was in the madness. Before my big relapse as well, because it was a 6 month build up to my relapse as well. But I found this on the floor. It's just a little metal plaque here. I'm going to read it to you. It says, it was in the mud, rainy day. I picked it up, I've kept it since. It says, "May you be proud of the work you do, the person you are, and the difference you make." I was meant to find that. I was meant to find that little bit there, and I've kept that in my wallet since, because that for me is a little timely reminder. For what I do now in recovery, I make a difference not to myself but to other people as well. The work I'm doing now is again for myself mainly, but is to help other people. And you have to remind yourself that you are good enough, you are worth it. And for years, like exactly what you said there, mate, like for years I never backed myself. I lacked the confidence. I didn't have a backbone, and we've got to be more heard nowadays. And it depends what your childhood was like and how you've grown up. It reflects on the person that you become. But working on yourself is one of the hardest things. I think, as I said when we started, it's one of the hardest things you have to do is work on yourself, because if you can't be happy, you are not going to make anyone else happy. It's as cliche and as simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah. Have you heard? Did you say your mum's a psychologist?
No, she's a therapist. She's technically she's so she's got a diploma. She's in her recovery. She goes to somewhere called Waverley Abbey College, which is down in Southampton. She's in her 4th year now of her degree. She's got a diploma. She works at a drug and alcohol rehabilitation centre. Volunteers there once a week. And she's just got to finish this year, then do a dissertation, and then she's got a degree. But she is a qualified BACP registered therapist now. Yeah, she's got hundreds of hours under her belt, and yeah.
Have you heard? Do you know who Carl Jung is?
Carl Jung?
Yeah.
The name rings a bell only because I think she might have done some work on it.
You would have. So you know who Jordan Peterson is, don't you?
I do. Yeah.
So Carl Jung is...
Jung, yeah. Do you know what? Funny you say that. She asked me to get a couple of photos of him to put in one of her presentations about a month ago. Yep.
Yeah, I think he was around, I'm going to say the 60s, maybe, around that time.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's something that he does. It's called the shadow work. when it's about self-reflection and looking at all the negative aspects of yourself and how you can reflect on what's negative and use the negativity and turn it into a positive, and therefore your shadow becomes your light and things like this.
Yeah, okay.
I did a lot of work on that, only through myself last year, nothing professional about it or whatever, but just by listening and reading. Carl Jung, Jordan Peterson, and Joe Rogan were probably the three people that I learned a lot off last year.
Yeah,
And by doing that, where I'm getting to, mate, is you spoke about these 12 steps. I've never followed the 12 steps. I've never been to any.
It crossed my mind to ask you. Obviously, you've been in recovery for some time. What was it that done it for you?
Yeah. In what sense? What do you mean?
So I said recovery is what you make of it. It's what works for you. No two brains are the same. So for you personally, what helps you get clean, stay clean, and maintain
the fact that I'd failed so many times, probably, mate.
Okay.
The fact that I'd failed and failed and failed, and in the end I was pissing myself off.
Yeah.
Just because I was constantly lying to the people around me and lying to myself.
Yeah.
So
go on. No. Did you feel like? For me, I always used to think of Einstein's most famous saying, which is insanity is doing the same thing day in, day out and expecting a different outcome. That was me 101 I'll start again Monday. I'll start, not this weekend, not this weekend.
I think that's a lot of people in
absolutely
addictions and things like that, mate. But the thing that I find is I've sort of followed these 12 steps very loosely in my own way, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
I've learned to accept that I wasn't in control. I've learned to accept that I needed help. I learned to accept that I had to give myself up to a strategy or method.
Yeah. So yours wasn't the God or the higher power as such, but you realised that you had to let go of the fact that you've got a problem. You need to pass that burden. You need to.
There was actually an experience of a higher power involved in my journey where
fantastic.
I tried DMT.
Okay. Yeah. Is the that's Matt? Is that the thing that's it's not made in a lab? Is it human made? And am I right in saying it can't? I thought it was always.
Comes from a tree.
Okay.
It comes from a tree called the acacia tree.
Okay.
And it's called 5-methoxy-dimethyltryptamine is the word for it. Dimethyltryptamine, DMT.
Yeah.
And I fasted for 24 hours before I did it. Some Buddhist music on, really calm and at peace. And it just showed me. It showed me that I'm not the center of my own universe. I'm a part of this big spiritual. Honestly, it's so difficult to.
Is it? No. I understand that. I think I've seen again. You mentioned Joe Rogan. Obviously, I've seen various clips. He's obviously had Jordan Peterson on a few times, as he has with Theo Von, and I can't remember who the black physicist is, or the astronomer is. What's his name?
Billy Carson.
No. He's got like a two-part name.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, that's it. Yeah. Fantastic. Some of the podcasts that they have is brilliant. But I know Joe Rogan does a talk with someone about DMT, and I think
they've all done it.
Yeah, of course.
All of them. They've all done it. Like,
and they I think what feared me with it is so it's funny when you talk about DMT because DMT is the top psychedelic. I don't think there's anything out there that tops it. Is there? No, not even close. No. So I think for me, it was the when someone said they had a 60-year trip in 5 minutes. That for me was like, fuck me, like this person had a life, wife, 2 kids, full-time job, and I think when he was talking about that, I mean, again, obviously everyone's experiences, I'm sure, is different, but DMT was always
actually, a lot of the majority of people who you listen to, mate, a lot of their experiences are very similar and almost identical. That's the crazy part about it is and Joe Rogan mentions it. Gabor Mate when he did a 15-hour
Gabor Mate is fantastic. I've got 2 of his books.
So he's done
it. Who does?
He talks about when he did a 15-hour ayahuasca ceremony.
Okay.
And a lot of people experience the same experience and go to the same place and things like this.
Crazy. Yeah, I've heard this. Yeah.
You have to obviously you've got to try it to understand what it is. But
of course,
the way I describe time doesn't last very long.
It's an opinion.
But it lasts forever.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So you're there forever and ever, but you come out of it and you're like, bloody hell, that didn't last long. But while you're in there, it
feels like a life. It's intense. It's intense.
Yeah, it's great. I was crying. I was crying when I come out of it. I was crying my eyes out.
Yeah. So yeah, I have heard some things on it. It's funny you talk about DMT. So there is a new thing at the moment in the therapy, like the counselling world, where psychedelic related therapy is starting to, hence more on the mushroom level, mind you.
Yeah.
My hypnotherapist actually is going into the psychedelic side of things now, and she does. I think she'll do something for like £180. She'll have you come over for like 6 hours. She'll do the whole beating on your chest and stuff like that, and then she'll leave you for 15 minutes. Then she'll come back and do it with you, and then so it is a new thing on the block. I think doing psychedelic related therapy, which is quite interesting because it's actually on the up. Obviously, I think originally it was very controversial, obviously because it's drugs and counselling. How can it work? But things are starting to intertwine with it now.
Well, actually, mate, so in America, have you heard of a guy called Paul Stamets?
No, go on.
So Paul Stamets is an American, I'm going to say mushroomologist, because I don't know the real word. But he was a teacher in Harvard.
He's a microbiologist. Yes, I've seen him on the clip. He's on a Joe Rogan podcast as well, isn't he?
That's him.
Yeah.
So he's done a lot of research around the brain and psychedelics. He owns his own mushroom business. That's what he does.
Yeah.
So before, again, I don't want to say this in case I'm wrong, but before the sort of health and safety regulations in the 80s came out, they were doing a lot of work with psychedelics and trying to fix the adverse effects of mental health with psychedelics in universities in America and things like that. And they had some groundbreaking results, like unbelievable. But then obviously the rules and regulations came out, so they had to knock it off, so to speak. Yeah. But they're doing it again in America now, a lot more with horse tranquilizer, we'll call it K. But they're doing a lot of mental health research around that and the effects of dementia and ADHD and things like that. Psychedelics are a powerful thing, mate. Powerful.
Absolutely. I can't say for me, my years of doing K ever benefited me. But again, it's funny because you mentioned ADHD there. That was something I was diagnosed with in August. Right. I got my official diagnosis. I paid privately for it. I waited a year on the NHS. Forget it. I had to go private for it. It cost a lot. But that alone helped me understand a lot about myself, about my actions, as to why I'm impulsive, I'm impatient, I race to spend money, I look for a dopamine fix all the time. If a roller coaster is 100 foot, I want to go on one that's 200 foot. If it's 200 foot, I want to go on one that's 400 feet. I'm always chasing. So obviously, to make that, for me as an ADHD, you have to make that transition from finding your dopamine fix through drugs and transition it to going to the gym, find a hobby, stuff like that. But yeah, so for me, when I used to use, that would, doing this would suppress my mind. It would actually help me sit still. I wouldn't have because my brain is neurodiverse and not the neurotypical as such. I would always, I would do it and then watch a movie. I would do it just to suppress my thoughts, and it adds an adverse effect on me as opposed to the typical person that takes it. I don't want to get up and fight the world or have sex with anything that moves as such. I just want to sit there and chill. And it's obviously I'm on medication now for it, which I'm on a titration period for. But that medication for me makes me feel like I could solve quantum physics. Like I don't have a song playing around in my head on repeat all day every day, because I thought that was normal. But yeah,
what medication is it?
Lisdexamphetamine. The street name for it is Elvance.
I've got a cousin. I'm pretty sure he's a genius. Let's call him that. But he struggled with addiction for a long time, and he takes medication now. And I'm not sure what it's called, but when he takes it, he said he just zones in, and he's like, I can do I think he wrote some binary code the other week when he was on it, like just sat there on his computer and just said just pure focus. sounds like it's a similar thing.
Yeah, like you said at the beginning of this, you said you're not very computer literate. So I've got a Discord server which I'll talk about a bit later. But I was working with a Discord developer to build this server, and I within the server you've got categories and subcategories within it. And I think it was the first or second day I took it, I just sat there at the computer. I was typing out all these different like mental health, physical health charities. I was looking at NHS links and stuff like that for all different types of therapy, adding it all in. And putting like phone numbers in for people for like if people need help with like Mind or Frank or Good Samaritan stuff like that. But I sat there for hours just like that. And whereas usually when I'm not on that medication, I'd do a little bit, and then I'd go to the kitchen for something, and then I'd go and do it. So I used to call it circuit chores. Someone who's got ADHD does circuit chores, So. If I've got to clean the house or I've got to clean the kitchen, I won't just put all the stuff in the dishwasher and close it up. I'll open the dishwasher, put the kettle on, open the fridge, make a tea, put a few more plates in, then put the washing on, then start the washing machine. Then, do you know what I mean? You kind of go around like that, and it's mad because you don't realise how much time you're wasting by doing all that. Whereas if you just done one thing at a time, it'd be but that's what my medication helps me do now. It helps me start a task and finish it.
Yeah.
So obviously,
it's interesting though, mate. Isn't it? Like what the brain. So I've been studying neuro-linguistics and things like that lately.
Okay, yep.
Just trying to sort of give myself more positive habits. We're all addicted to something, right? Every human in the world, we've got our addictions, whether it's good, bad, whatever it may be.
It could be crisps, chocolate, or anything. Yeah.
Mate, there was one time, so I'm on a carnivore diet at the moment. I've been on it since Christmas.
Well, you're on like just steaks at the minute, steak, chicken.
Just literally beef, eggs, cheese, and a little bit of fish every now and then. That's it.
You've got full Eddie Aboudin, yeah?
Oh,
Not so much. He's full on steak eggs, isn't he? But I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm a big guy, mate. I'm 6'6" and I weigh about 20 and a half stone at the moment.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So last year I was massively overweight because I was still struggling with my own mental addictions and things like that. So I done the old Tyson Fury, mate. I shot up to about 25 stone.
Wow. Yeah.
But what I'm doing, the reason that I say this is because so they say, don't they, neurons that fire together wire together. So in the brain. So basically, what I'm saying is, if I can get two positive things at the same time to stick in my life, and whether that's something simple as waking up early and eating something healthy next, that's a positive start, right? That's you're building a positive habit, and it's not. I'm not getting up early every day, but like this morning, I was up at 6 o'clock. I was doing training online at 6 in the morning with a coffee. First thing I ate was eggs and cheese with a little bit of bread, not much.
Brown bread, wholemeal?
No, white. No. Yeah. But I'm just building myself into these positive habits slowly but surely. Yeah. Like for me dinner this afternoon, I've just had mince with some cheese. That's it. That's all I ate.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm really.
How are you finding it in yourself? Obviously, doing. How long have you been doing the diet for now?
So I've been doing it since Boxing Day last year.
Okay. And how are you? Obviously, so you're over a month now on it. I'm sure are you starting to have more energy on a day-to-day basis?
Unbelievable.
I bet. Yeah.
I've lost about 17 kilo in weight, something like that. I've lost.
That's a lot, mate. That is a lot. Obviously, I know you had the weight, but that's still a lot. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So well done, you. Yeah.
I'm not, like I say, mate. If I can start building these new positive habits, and you know what, mate? So how many weeks into this year are we? 5, 6 weeks.
Yeah, into the 6th now, aren't we? Yeah.
I've done more positive things unselfishly for myself this year than I did last year.
Yeah, fantastic.
Well, probably wrongly though. The other parts of my life might have dipped a little bit. Like by focusing on myself a little bit more, I haven't put as much effort into my relationship with my girlfriend, which I need to improve on. Things like that, or I haven't been to the gym as much, which I need to improve on. So it's just finding, this perfect mixture of a positive balance, I guess. And that's where I am at the moment. It's really I'm enjoying it, mate. I'm enjoying the journey. Really.
It's one thing at a time. The thing is, my mum always says to me, you can't build a house on quicksand. You can't build a house on sand. Solid foundations. You know, you need to have solid foundations. You need. Yes, we crave routine. We need routine as well. You know, massively. But you can't. Everything you said there, you know, if you woke up one day and put all that into practice, you'd be overwhelmed with it a week later, because exactly what you said there. You've got two things that you've chose. They're the things you're going ahead with and sticking. You know, eating better, getting up early, or work. You know, whatever it is you're doing, you're not inundating yourself and overwhelming yourself to a point where you're going to set yourself up to fail. But you do them long enough, they become habit. Exactly. And when they're habit, then you can take that from two things to then add another two things. So don't increase it. But yeah, that makes total sense, mate. I think that was always my problem. I think going over the years is that I've always tried to run before I could walk. I've not took the time out for myself. I caught up with a friend. I caught up with a friend last Friday. I've not seen him for a year, but he was my best friend in school. He went to Canada for 3 years, and you know, when he come back, I was in the midst of my madness, really. You know, he's been back 2 years now. Sorry, I lie. 4 years. He's been back 4 years, and actually, it was last Friday. I went to the gym because he's a PT now, so it gave me a chance to catch up with him. And actually, one of the things we were talking about, and I was actually in tears to him because there was an incident last year. Where when the Euros final was on. And I couldn't make it because I didn't have my car, and the reason I didn't have my car is because I lent it to my dealer, you know, and made up some bullshit excuse why I couldn't make it. This was when like my lies with my missus kind of started to come out on top because he didn't have my car back when he said he was going to, and stuff like that. But after the back of that, I lost contact with all my mates for the best part of 6 months, and I've only just started to have them kind of come back into my life now. But I had to shut myself away to sort myself out. But seeing him on Friday, I said to him, like, I'm really sorry for over the years for any chaos, destruction, or drama that I've caused. You know, it's not personal, it wasn't intentional, it's just I was just trying to make ends meet. You know, whether I had to rob Peter to pay Paul, or you know, I had to figure things out. And he said, I think your biggest problem, Gav, was that you always wanted to be in 3 places at once. You know, and if we had 3 house parties on, you'd make sure we done all 3. You'd even try and squeeze a 4th one in. And I think, you know, and that really rung true to me, actually, because it was like, I related to that so strongly with my mum always saying to me, when are you going to look after you, Gav? When are you going to take time out for you? Right? There's no harm in saying no. Set a boundary. You know, you're not going to get shot for it. And I think, you know, maybe like yourself, you know, I was always a people pleaser. Yes, man.
The thing is, mate, you feel like you're going to miss out on something. And the fact of the matter is, you ain't missing out on fuck all that's good.
No. There's always I've got my 7-year-old now, and it's the same thing with her, you know, when she says, oh, can we go to the trampoline park today? And it's like, no, it's all right, we'll go next week. Oh, but I really want to go today. And it's like, that's not going anywhere, that trampoline park. It'll be there next week. It'll be there tomorrow. You know, and it's like, it's not the last time, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we relate to that when we get older as well, because we always, even elements of now, that's our inner child, isn't it? We always feel like sometimes we've got to do things because it might just be the last time. Little do we know, you know, one day it will be our last time, but you know, that'll be in years to come. So
I'm still a big kid deep down, and I'm nearly 40. So
absolutely, mate, I'll never stop being a kid. I bought a £1,600 gaming PC to play a game called RuneScape, which is about 30 years old, mate. I don't actually use the PC for anything else other than to come and talk to you, do my TikTok and that. It's because I love games. And that takes me right back to my childhood. And for me, gaming was always.
What's your favourite games?
Oh, I was brilliant at FIFA back in the day. I played FIFA for years, mate. Yeah,
I was
quality
as well.
FIFA.
Yeah.
Quality of FIFA.
Metal Gear Solid was my favourite game. You know.
Oh, Sons of Liberty was a when games were good. Do you know what? They lost their way a bit with games now because they realise how much money they can make. You know, every
online
game can be through battle passes, through skins, through this, that, and the other. Like how many kids do you see talk about Fortnite now? Got to have this skin, got to have that skin, got to have this, got to have that. Roblox is But you got to be wary now, though. We loved games back in the day. So for me, it was like, yeah, Metal Gear Solid, Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, man, what a game!
Fucking love. My mum used to go and buy me the Crash Bandicoot and take it back a week later, and they'd say, "What's the problem? He's completed it." I was 6, mate. You know, he can't have. Yeah, he has. He's told me he's got all the gems. He's done.
What was it called? It was before Metal Gear Solid. Siphon Filter. Do you remember that?
Siphon Filter. Let me vaguely remember it. I don't think I played it though.
So I think, like I say, I'm a bit older than you. It was when the first PlayStation ever came out. I think it was one of the first games I ever played.
Yeah, I remember the cover. I never actually had the game though. But yeah.
There was that. Yeah. There was Doom. Remember Doom?
Oh, Doom, yeah. You used to scare the shit out of me playing Doom. Obviously, you're a little bit older than me, so but yeah. Do
you remember Duke Nukem? What a game! What a game that was!
Oh, mate. Like that was when games were good because you had such variety and diversity with the games as well, and obviously you didn't really have online then. And I feel like content creators have ruined games now because they reveal all the little tricks and all the hacks and all the little and it's so competitive. Mate. You can't go on and enjoy a game now. But
no.
GTA, talk about GTA. So obviously like
San Andreas,
Titan. Yes, San Andreas, GTA 3, Vice City.
Yeah. Oh, mate, what a game that was.
Yeah. So obviously you got the new one, aren't they? That they're due to bring out, I think, later this year.
Yeah.
You know, and that's long, but that's going to be like groundbreaking in the gaming world. Obviously, Rockstar Games are obviously like they don't bring out many games, and obviously you know GTA 5 if you played it like that's been out for years.
I haven't played it.
Oh mate, yeah. The way they're bringing it out now though is that I think GTA 6 you're going to have it's almost like a stock market on it. You know, it's going to be so realistic that you'll be able to buy coins to use in the game to be able to go on the stock market and the real wealth. Like for instance, like you'll have like your own like smartphone that pops up on the game, and it's telling you the real world problems, i.e. Trump getting in for president, for instance. It will tell you through the game as real life events happen, and that has an effect on the stock market within the game, which then can affect how much you buy virtual coins for. Like they're making like almost like what was it Elon Musk was trying to do? Like make like a digital multiverse, like, you know, like
meta world.
Meta world, yeah. This is what it's going to be, and it's absolutely like, it'll be a great game, but it's way above kind of anything I'm going to be willing to do. I kind of, you know,
and you know, like I think if any modern games, mate, it'd be like a God of War or something like that.
God of War, yeah.
That's my type of game, God of War.
Call of Duty was good back in the early days. COD 4, World at War.
Yeah.
Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah.
God, blinding game. After that, forget it. It kind of went to shit, to be honest with you. But again, like there've been a few good games here and there, but nothing like the old days, you know.
No.
Even going back to the Sega Mega Drive and Sonic.
Oh, Sega Mega or the Sega Master System as well. Unbelievable consoles, unbelievable.
Yeah. I bought my daughter a Nintendo Switch for Christmas. Now they're not cheap. They're portable things, aren't they? Now.
Yeah.
And I bought her that. It come with a Game Pass thing for a year, free for a year, and she barely plays it, barely touches it because it's too much now. Like you know. We're talking about, I just mentioned Roblox there. All the kids are into Roblox. My partner watches another podcast, I think the Luana podcast, and I think they had someone on there and they were talking about Roblox, and they had one of the presenters, I think, had to get her son off of it because they were starting to get like the wrong, like bad people coming into it and grooming.
Well, we've experienced that. We've experienced that.
It's a dangerous thing out there at the minute. I know. I think, do you know, is it Matt and Emma Willis? Matt Willis from Busted.
Oh, right, yeah.
Busted, yeah. He I know, again, he's in recovery himself. But they done something on Channel 4, I think, or RTV, where they went to a school in Colchester and they had 21 kids put their phones in a box for 3 weeks to see how they'd deal without Snapchat, without Instagram, without Twitter, stuff like that, and TikTok, and they were basically saying like the effects that phones have got nowadays on kids.
Well, I think they've even got the effects on us as well. I think, like I say, I'm a little bit older than you, but I'm sure you'll remember life without social media. I'm sure of it.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
when I was a young lad, mate, all we'd do was play football. We'd climb. So where I live, there's a castle. We'd climb the castle in the dark, and we'd play man hunt in the woods. And then that was us. That's all we did as kids.
Yeah,
We didn't understand this. I mean, bullying now, cyberbullying with children, because children, hurting themselves because of cyberbullying. Social media, for a long, long time, it's poison. We all know that, and I know that, and I still use it. But
of course.
I think this year I'm trying to turn the negative into a positive. I'm only going to try and use it for positive things.
Yeah. I think it's really hard to use, because the problem you've got nowadays is that you've got the world at your fingertips now, and now it's fantastic. And obviously we have moved forward, like yourself. We had simpler times once.
Yeah.
Where when I went out with my mates, it's because someone knocked on the door after school and said, "Do you want to come out and play?"
Yeah, they don't do that.
You had MSN. That was as technical as you got. MSN. I screenshotted many boobs. But like obviously that all closed down bloody years ago, and but you used to go out and play. You'd go on your BMX, you'd go to the park, you'd play football, you socialised. And the problem now is where you've got the world at your fingertips now. It's like everyone thinks that socialising is this on your phone now, and it's such a sad way to live, because I feel like, definitely for us, you're not too many years older than me, but I feel like we were kind of like the last generation, really.
And that's where I was getting to. I've always said that we're the last generation, like
absolutely, always. Yeah. And I feel like I feel like in hindsight now we had a lucky escape that we haven't grown into this world, into the world, the digital world. Now we've got the joy of knowing what it was like before and now. Whereas the generation now, like, God knows what they're teaching them in school. I mean, it was only the other day my daughter, my phone's, I won't go on my phone right now, but I take my daughter dancing. She goes dancing every Saturday, and in the toilets at a dance studio she goes to, they've got like a little booklet or like a pamphlet, I think it's on the door in the toilet, and it's basically teaching kids about transgender. It's like 7 years of age, mate. Don't start trying to don't start. It was basically, what was in there was saying that men can have periods. And
it's extremely, it's a subject that I don't know a massive amount about, but it's also a subject that I know that children shouldn't be involved in. I think children should be allowed to make their own minds up.
Absolutely.
All this whether medically castrating children and things like that, because the child has said that that's their decision. I mean, when my son's 17 now, my daughter's 13. But the only decisions that they made when they were 6-7 years old is whether to watch Peppa Pig or Dragon Ball Z or something like that. Do you know what I mean? They didn't understand how their bodies worked and what their identity was.
No, they don't understand. They don't understand the knock-on effects that it can have, and it can be catastrophic. It can, you're already seeing a lot of cases now where a lot, as they've got older, they've regretted it, and so they can't do anything about it. They got the age or the life experience to make these decisions.
And that's it, mate. By all means, I'm a big advocate. But do whatever makes you happy. Do whatever makes you happy. If somebody wants to be part of the trans movement and they believe that they are, then fine. I'll still speak to these people, but it won't change my opinion the same way my opinion won't change theirs. As long as you're happy and love yourself and learn to live a happy life, that's all I want.
Definitely.
As far as children go, mate, it's. I just don't think they're at a conscious state yet where they're eligible to make those sort of life-changing decisions. I seen a question they asked a lady. They said, would you allow life-changing medication to children? She said, yeah, if they wanted it, yes. And then they said to her, would you allow a child to have a tattoo? And she said, oh no, that's far too permanent. And I thought, well, the first
exactly that. The face says it all.
Yeah, yeah. The first one's a hell of a lot more permanent than a tattoo.
Yes.
And it's just that, like I say, if when they're 17, 18, they're old enough to understand what's going on. If they want to make that choice, fine by me.
Yeah.
I ain't got no problem with it.
Absolutely.
Doesn't affect my life. It doesn't change what I'm doing one
Of course
bit.
not. Of course not. But I think when it comes, I mean, obviously, the whole thing about education is that it's a whole. That's a whole probably podcast or a whole series in itself, isn't it? Just due
definitely.
to the fact of the matter is, from my perspective, is that no two brains are the same. One, you know, but some people are better academically. Some people are just better with their hands.
Yeah.
It doesn't, and that shouldn't make you any more or less of a, or better or worse of a person or a child. I done a DT in school, like design technology. I hated using my hands, but I also weren't great academically. However, I was fantastic at sports, football, cricket, tennis, shot put. I was district champion in shot put when I was 15. So like I was better that way, but just because I was a district champion in shot put, that didn't I was still classed as I could have done better in school because I got a D in science, for instance. Obviously, albeit I've then got probably the equivalent of an A level in physics now through being an electrician. But it's neither here or there now. But like you can't deem someone as a you can't deem a kid a failure just because they're not great academically. But because they might just be good in other ways, and it's really it's hard for them because that's why my mum again. I said my mum was a teacher, a secondary school teacher in English, and bloody good one as well. But that's why she kind of quit teaching, was because she's like the syllabus, like how we have to teach kids. It's one syllabus, it's one way, and it's one rule we have to teach. And unfortunately,
that's
we can't.
It's something that I want to dive into is the rhetoric around how this westernized process of teaching children, like in America, you've only got to look at in America, mate, the Rockefellers in I think it was like the 20s, and Ford. So Henry Ford, he actually wrote the American syllabus so they didn't teach children to develop their own personal skills. They taught children like a factory, like a Ford factory. Churn these people out, so all we want is workers. All we want is factory workers. That's it.
That's why you raise your hand when you speak.
Exactly. So, like,
that's why we sit in aisles in files and stuff like that.
Yeah. You look at sort of Scandinavia and places like that, and a lot of their teachings. So, if you're not good at a subject by, year 4 of high school, you get rid of it. So, if you're not good at maths, you don't have to do maths no more. They focus on your strengths rather than just teaching you this.
Having a one rule fits all perspective.
Yeah, and I believe that's a good. I'm speaking to a guy next week from where he used to live where I live. He lives in Thailand now, and he's a teacher out there. He's wrote a couple of books. He's wrote a couple of books.
Fantastic. Yeah,
and we're going to sort of speak about the comparison between sort of the Asian way of teaching children compared to the Western world.
That would be a really interesting one. I'd have to tune into that. Definitely.
Yeah, it'd be cool, man.
When is it? When's that on?
Probably next Saturday, I think.
Yeah. I'll definitely tune into that. Definitely.
So just if we'll finish on. So we spoke before about the recovery aspect. I want to sort of delve into you and what were the first steps you took into deciding, look, this is what I'm going to do as far as recovery goes, and how did you end up sort of in the niche market that you're in now? Do you know what I mean? In the sort of niche, the availability that you've got and the help that you give to people as well.
Yeah, sure. So, obviously for me, I'm still a baby in recovery at 4.5 months, make no mistake. But I think for me that the thing is that 4.5 months ago when my partner kicked me out, I thought that was it. For me, that was, my mum picked me up after I collected all my stuff, and mum drove me back. I remember saying this to me. I was weeping in the car, and I remember saying, like, this is my rock bottom. This is what I always said to myself. I weren't going to get clean unless I hit rock bottom, because only when I could hit rock bottom was I then going to be willing to accept that I'll do whatever it takes to get clean going forward now. And I always think back of that to that day, and that's what keeps me going now, because I don't want to be so scared. And so I fell to the floor in tears when I walked through the door at my parents. I cried myself to sleep. I didn't eat for 2 days. I was a wreck. I was an absolute wreck. So I think documenting my recovery for me helps me massively. So when we talk about recovery, I've said to you that in my opinion, recovery is what you make of it, and it's what works for you. I think no matter how you get clean, no matter what way you go about it, the main thing is that I feel like you have to feel like you've lost everything that meant anything to you, and you have to be willing. And in my opinion, I think you do have to hit a rock bottom to really kind of bounce back from it.
Yeah.
How you get clean, obviously, albeit through a 12-step program, a SMART program, through therapy, i.e. probably more psychodynamic as opposed to CBT related. However you get clean, it will be whatever works for you. But I would say you need to try all them things. If not, like rehab, you might end up needing. But for me, for what I do now, obviously I hit 10k last week on TikTok, which is great. But for me, documenting my recovery in real time not only helps me, because I get to see my own progress from my relapse to now and going forward. But the people I've helped over the time I've been doing it, is purely just people will message me or comment when I do my lives, and they'll be like, I've got a mother, I've got a dad, I've got a son, daughter, brother, sister who's struggling. What would you say, and stuff like that. And I can only go by what the experiences are that I've lived myself. So it's not about what I tell you what to do and it works. And I think the problem we have now, definitely what I've witnessed as of late on social media, is you put your heart and soul out there. I put my private life out on the line. It's a very, very touchy thing to put out, and I still sometimes get a backlash with it from my partner, because some of my partner's friends also follow me on it, and so you have to be really careful. But you find the sober community can be very opinionated. Very because you've got to remember, when people go through the doors into AA or CA, when they walk through them doors, they're financially, emotionally, spiritually, physically broken. Most of them have, a lot of them have probably lost everything. They have hit rock bottom. So when they use a 12-step program to get clean, and they get to step 12, they're then passing it on to the next person to try and help them out. It's like, and I'm a firm believer in attraction, not promotion. I want what you've got, yeah. But I don't want you promoting how you've done it to me and throwing it down my throat. It's like, like Bible bashers, fantastic. To put it frankly, Bible bashers, Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, I had one recently. I was at my half's friend's 30th, and it's about 12:30 on a Sunday lunchtime. I was just outside having a vape, and 2 women came up to me, and I thought, I'm looking good. It's all right, kind of thing. Thank you. All of a sudden, so what do you think about the current state of the world? And blah 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 blah. All of a sudden, bang! The Jehovah's Witness leaflet comes out. I thought, oh, here we go. So it's like, for me, I'm a believer in God anyway. I felt like I had my spiritual awakening, not off the back of doing my 12-step program, which is part of it. I had my spiritual awakening a slightly different way, but I did have my awakening, and I found God through that, and that's helped me massively. I'm probably not as strong on my faith as what I probably should like to be, but I find for me, helping people online obviously helps myself, but I have to make, I'm not going to save the world. Make no mistake, I'm not going to save the world. And I'm never going to claim to, but I would like to give it a good fucking try. But you have to look after you. There's no point in deflecting from sorting yourself out by helping everyone else, because you can't help someone unless they're willing to help themselves. And again, these are all things we learn through our own experiences. So the thing the long-term mind I had when I was in recovery was like, I had to feel like I lost everything that meant anything to me. So when I felt that point, I said to you that I had to give my friends a complete overhaul. I had to give my career a complete overhaul. And I had to for me, it was like I just had to shut myself away and just figure it out here. And luckily for me, I've been able to do that, and I get to be 4.5 months in counting. And one of the things I created, I mentioned, was a Discord server. For anyone that doesn't know,
mate. Add me in it.
Yeah. It's free. Just sign up to Discord. I've got to
Discord.
do it. You got Discord. I'll email you. Well, I've got to do it. Basically, when I done a video, and I've done a pinned video on my TikTok, I said I've got a server called this, blah blah blah, blah, and I had the link on it. Didn't realise the link expired after 7 days. So for like a month, I've had a fucking expired link on it. I've now got an eternal link for it.
Have you got a link tree? No.
I've got a link tree, and it's on there. It's now on there through the link trees, I believe.
Yeah,
it is. It's on there through the link tree. So yeah, so the way I've done it, I mean, I've got this. Does this pause the video if I open this up out of interest? If I go like that, does that pause the video?
Shouldn't do.
No. Okay. Right. Okay. So yeah, the way it kind of works. So the way I done my server was like, when you join, you have an introduction. So like, what are you here for? You're in for mental health, physical health. Are you here for addiction? This, that, the other. Blah 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 blah. You have like a meet the team on it, where I've got like a team of people, where I've got like, you know, from myself to my partner, who's obviously, she helps from a perspective where, you know, if anyone's joining who's an addict or is a friend of is a friend or family member of an addict, and they don't understand it from that point of view, she's there to talk to anyone about it from her experiences. I've got someone else who's an ADHD and mindfulness coach in there as well to help with ADHD and autism. Obviously my mum is in there as well because she's a therapist. So anyone that wants to talk to anyone wants to talk about anything, you know, you've got not free therapy as such, but you've got someone who you can go to who will talk to you and say, you know, who will talk to you on a level and say, like, if you've got any problems or anything like that, I can point you in the right direction. So so it's all very early stages when I started it, but the idea that I had behind it was like, it would be nice to build a community of people that are suffering with mental health and physical health, ADHD, autism, bipolar, addiction or alcoholism. But you've got general chat channels there where you can talk to other people in there. And, you know, you can have just general chat. You can talk about ADHD, talk about autism, addiction and bipolar in main chats. You have voice chats in there as well. So obviously I'd like to get to a point where it's like, you can have like somewhat like a very similar kind of like an AACA kind of style thing, where you have someone there that talks, and then you can have other people in there that can come and talk as well. So you've got voice channels in there. I've got, other little like things in there, like people, you know, like some people just want to share like when they've made a good dinner, for instance, like food related. So I've got food share, I've got music.
No, but that's good though. I mean, the one thing we should do a lot when in recovery is celebrate small wins. And you know, even if it's something as simple as going, look, it's Saturday night, I'm not out on the beer, I'm not doing this X, Y, and Z. I'm sat at home and I've just made a 3-course dinner for me and my kids and me and my family. You know, celebrate that shit, man. Celebrate
it. Even journaling, like, did you journal at the minute?
Yeah.
You do journal, yeah? So, like, even on that, I've created something which is called e-journals. So you can have it as private or you can have it as public, so people can comment, but it gives you a chance. You know, I've got e-journals on here, which means you can journalise what you want to do. I've got channels on it where you can come in and vent, or just, you know, or vent anonymously. I've got support channels. I've got addiction support where I've written out stuff for AA, CA, GA, NA, Smart Recovery, Roddy Frank, obviously, and other stuff like that. And I've got mental health charities and like Calm Mind, Anxiety UK and stuff like that. I've got all these links and Samaritan stuff. I've got all links and stuff like that in there for it. So the idea is that I can build. The idea is that I'd like to get to a point where it's like I've got maybe, I don't know, like 5,000 or so people in it by the end of the year, and it's because once I hit 1,000, it goes into Discord's public server. So it's you know, if you know Discord, you know it's free to join. No. You know, right? Okay, Discord's obviously like, it's a massive platform for gamers originally, but it's now used in all industries. There's not really anyone on here that are doing mental health though, other than fight through mental health. But so this is why I've seen kind of an opportunity here, and it's like the idea is that I would get to a point where the server would run itself through moderators. I would have people that are trained through NHS, and I'm speaking to 2 people in the NHS field at the minute that are going to work on it on a voluntary basis. So when the server then starts to make money, either through public donations or because it won't cost you anything to join it. It's free, and the idea is that it will always and forever remain free, because recovery should be free to those who want and need it. You know, you got AA and CA and NA and all that. It's free. You got charities. They're free. You know, the only way it would be funded would be through.
But what I'd say is as well, if people, and there is like I won't go into the argument that you said, but I know a couple of people who are in the recovery and addiction coaches, so they charge it. I've got no problem with that, mate, because at the end of the day, if people want to do it for a living and they want to help people, but they want to do it as a full-time job, there's fuck all wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, no, but I think my thing here is now, again, obviously where I have hit 10k recently, I was just having this talk with my partner last night, and I was saying I feel like I've hit a bit of a crossroads with it now, because it's like at 10k you then start to get paid per 1,000 views, albeit it's not a lot, but the idea is that I'm at a crossroads there, because I used to post every day. Now, obviously, as I said, I took some time out for work to get myself together again, sort my shit out. So when I've done that, obviously now I'm back working. I'm on 2 jobs at the minute that I'm running on my own. So it's like when you've got work and that, obviously, you know, I've got a holiday coming up. I've got a big year ahead of me. It's like I haven't got the time to post numerous times a day. Some people post 5-10 times a day. I was just about making 1 a day. And obviously I've maintained my lives every Monday and Thursday. However, something I'm going to be doing probably, because my thing now is that I either do more content, or I take kind of half a back seat on TikTok now, for instance, and I just do lives and podcasts as and when. And the idea is that, you know, I'd want my Discord server to be more popular. So the idea is that you know, as much as I've done some qualifications to become a coach in recovery myself, like I never saw my life going in the way, whereas I wanted to start coaching people and charging them for it.
Why not?
Because for me, I always done that so that I could gain a better understanding on it. Not that it's not nothing I don't know through my own lived experiences. Practically because I'm a spark, mate. I make very good money as a spark. You know, yes, I'd like a second stream of income, but I would probably like it through my Discord server, not actually through coaching people. You know, because I see the Discord server, when that grows, sponsorships then come around. When sponsorships come around, that's when funding then comes around. That's when I can then pay people to run it for me. You know, because any money that I earn through Discord will just go straight back into Discord. Yes, of course, I will then earn off of it myself, but I've got people that are going to work for me on a voluntary basis at the minute that I've spoke with, and then in 6 months to a year, maybe probably like next year, it will then get to a point where it's like I'll have people that will be working around the clock. I'll have people that do day shift, night shift, back shift, and then through sponsorships and through public donations, like crowdfunded donations on it, then, you know, the monies will go towards paying for these people that are taking the time out from. And obviously, yes, I'll then make a little bit off the back of it myself. But again, very early on in recovery myself, but I never saw a way of going down the route of coaching people as such. You know, I don't think you can coach. You know, generally, like being a recovery coach and actually trying to coach someone, I think people get that misconstrued. Like, there's coaches and therapists. You know, and this is where I talk about like how the sober community can be very bitter and very opinionated. And obviously, as you know, with everything that went on, you know, you shouldn't judge one another for what you do. You know, whether I'm in recovery, you know, if we're all in recovery, we're all here for the same reasons, because drugs and alcohol brought us here. So it don't matter if you was a high flyer owning 3 clubs in Ibiza, or whether you was on benefits. You know, like the fact of the matter is addiction's brought you here. You know, so let's all work together, and let's try and, you know, because addiction and alcoholism it's a worldwide problem. You know, and unfortunately we need to stick together and work together with it, and it's really hard to do so when people can be opinionated on it. At the end of the day, the fact of the matter is we all just want to get clean, and we all just want to do better for ourselves and for others. So
one of my biggest reasons is, mate, is because I fear this mental health pandemic is only just starting.
Do you think so? Even though it's been talked about for years.
Yeah, I believe this is going to be something that our children are going to experience tenfold more than what we are.
I think so definitely more with smartphones, and again we've tapped into.
I really just think life in general. I think I think we're going into the age of technology now, where we're going to see things before we die that we'll look at it and think, "Oh my God, what is going on here?" And I believe that this mental health pandemic is just starting. Like I said, mate, I look at the younger generation now and look at the amount of addiction there is in the younger generation, and it's tenfold. You know, I know 20, 22, 23-year-old lads who've got K problems, and they're on the verge of having non-irreversible
effects here,
medical conditions. And I know a lot of people like that. And but like I say, mate, I believe my journey now is to do what I'm doing on the podcast. But
this is fantastic. This is fantastic what you're doing. I'll see your clips before you got in contact with me, and some of your clips are absolutely amazing. Some of the people you've had on. So.
And I believe that I've found the calling for what I would need to do, not what I want to do, what I need to do.
Yeah.
And I want to eventually go into public speaking and start going around schools and speaking to the younger generation. But we'll see, mate. We'll see. The one thing I'm enjoying, like I said to you before, the one thing I'm enjoying now is the journey. I spent far too much of my time walking through the forest and not being able to see the trees. Whereas now it's the opposite, and that's the plan. That's what we should all be doing. Same as you, mate.
Absolutely,
as long as, like you say, with your Discord and stuff like that, as long as you're doing it from a place of love, it'll work, man. It'll work, man.
Yeah, of course. So I've got a call coming in on. Funny enough, I just had a call coming in on Discord there. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, and exactly what you said. Really and truly, you've got. It's a real problem that we've got probably coming up in the coming years, and it goes outside of that as well. So I think again, one of the long-term things I've got with Discord is again through construction, men between the ages of 25 and 40, the suicide rate isn't higher than anything between them ages, and it's because definitely men, the stress that we put upon ourselves or we have put upon us, it's very hard for us, every minute can feel like an hour and every hour can feel like a day sometimes, and it's not talked about enough. And I know my thing is I've just got to get a QR code created as well, because I want to start putting QR codes around for the server, but eventually I'll tap into construction, because mental health, when you go on building sites, you're inducted, and mental health is now mentioned throughout every induction. And my thing would be is, when my server is more established and more up and running, I'm going to have one shot at getting into the construction trade. So I want to make sure that my portfolio and my profile for it is solid. And again, we talked about solid foundations. So I want to make sure that's there for it, because that would be fantastic for me if, I could tap into multi-billion or multi-million pound builders, like contractors. And, my QR code is on every induction for people to join. And it would just help people in the construction industry alone, that's without all the general people I'm getting joining. That's one industry, eventually, why not NHS? Why not have an NHS linked in on it? So the dream's there. I did employ a coach, actually. Talking about coach, I did employ a career coach. Now she charges a bomb, and she was fantastic, She was like, all you need to do is this. I had 2 sessions with her, and I was like, right, okay, I've got my idea. Let's run with it. And I think, when I was moving back home to my mum, again, I said, my Holy Spirit's quite strong, and one of the things I felt like was just someone was saying to me, with your idea, Gav, run with it. Just run with it.
Definitely. So what's the harm? Like, the only bad thing that comes with not doing it is failure. I mean, just do it. Do it and see what happens, man. See what happens.
You think people like Starbucks got knocked back over 100 times, didn't they?
Well,
something like that,
There's that many stories, mate. Abraham Lincoln lost 8 presidencies before he became president. Walt Disney was told that he wasn't creative enough to be a cartoon animation.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Harrison Ford was a broomsman, or a sweeper, or a builder before he became what he was in Star Wars. You got enough success stories there. We talk about success stories, stuff like that. People think the rich and the elite, they just woke up one day and went there. All right, they maybe did if they were in the Middle East with the oil money. Maybe so. However, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, they all started in a garage. They all started with nothing. But the one thing, what you said there is I think, for me, I think the problem you have when people get successful is they realise they're successful, because at that moment, that's when the journey stops for you, because you feel like you got to the end of it. And it's a shame, because the journey is so important for your own person. It's the most important, the middle part. That's why it's the middle, because that is the journey from your own, that's on your way to success, but it's also personal journey as well. You learn a lot about yourself in it.
Well, like I said, mate, when we're on our deathbeds, what will you remember more? The car that you bought with that X amount of money that you made, or the 1,000 people that you might have helped out during your life? Which one will you remember more?
Yeah, 1,000 people. Easy. There's no comparison, is it?
No.
So that's where it's at with it. But yeah, there'll be a little bit more of a push on that. But yeah, I definitely hit a point on TikTok now where I was like, I need to start looking at a crossroads now, and I'll probably take the next week or so to think around it. But definitely, like with podcasts and lives and stuff like that, I'll maintain. Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on, though, man.
No worries, mate. I appreciate it. We could do it again in a couple of months or whatever, and we'll see where you're at. That's like I've said to everybody.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's a small little group that I'm building here, where I want to keep in contact with people, and and just record the journey, man. That's what it's about.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd like to be speaking to you in a couple of months, and it'll be like, how you been? Yep, I've done my marathon. I had my holiday. Man. I'm buying that house, because then people get to see that recurring. It's like, okay, well, growth is possible. It's not something. Possible. It's not something. 100%. It's not something we dream of, But definitely, the longer you're in, I will say this: the longer you're in recovery, I will say, recovery is giving me everything that addiction only ever promised me.
Yeah. I can see that in myself already, mate. I can see that in myself. Definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and I thank you every day the fact that I've got that. So
good lad. Nice one, mate. Job done.
Right. Pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on, man. I'll see you again soon. I'll talk to you in a bit. Take care, mate.
All right, mate. Ta-ra.